G'day, how you going there guys? Diesel here from Getting Around Oz, camper trailer travelling. Unfortunately, out camping at the moment. Yeah, it's a bit bloody sunny right now, but the weather's been terrible up to literally probably the last 15 minutes, and we couldn't get out camping, but thought I'd give you a rundown of the 12-volt setup that we got in the back of the Pajero here. Been asked about a few times, and I've shared different bits and pieces in different videos at different times. This one here we've had in for probably about 1.5 years or something close to that, and I've had a good chance to test it out. And I feel like I'm at a point now where I can actually give you some decent thoughts and information on it, and if you're considering something for yourself, hopefully it'll help you out. Grab yourself a can, or 2 or 3, and let's get into it. Righto, before I get into what we got and how it all works and sort of stuff, I thought I'd share with you the needs that I have, because if you're looking at a 12-volt setup for yourself, or you've got a Pajero and you're probably interested in my setup and what worked for me to consider for your own. Considerations for me were, we needed a fridge to go in here, so that was the priority, because we don't always do camper trailer camping. I want to get out and do some swag camping and try and get to some different locations that I wouldn't be able to get to with when I'm towing, basically. Want to be able to use the air fryer in the back of the Pajero. Some people, that'll sound completely ridiculous, but if you've got an air fryer, you've used it and you love it, you totally understand, because it's a lifesaver at the end of a long day. So that was a big one. So they're the two big ones. Other than that, for us, it's charging drones and GoPros and tablets for the kids and phones and those types of things. But I want to be able to do it out the back of the car. I don't want to have to connect it up to the car and keep the ignition on, all that sort of stuff. I want to be able to shut the car off and just be able to do anything out the back here, because if I'm off grid without the camper trailer, this is where most of the action is, right? This is where I'm cooking and doing all my stuff, and this is where I need everything. So knowing that's what I need, the other thing was I didn't want to spend too much money. Okay, so myself and Neats had some decent conversations about what we need, but what can we bloody afford? It gets expensive pretty quickly. There's a lot of different brands and a lot of different ways you can go about it, and for us it was all those things taken into consideration versus what could actually bloody fit in this thing. As you can see in the back here, we don't have the drawers and boxes and all those types of things, and we didn't want to, because when we're doing trips across Australia or around Australia, as we have done and we're going to continue doing, we need this for for loading stuff up, bikes and all that sort of bits and pieces, and day-to-day use. We wanted to have this area as it is right now, essentially, without but potentially drawers that come up to here and not being able to fit stuff in. So it needed to be something we could put away, and the idea that I had was completely opposite to the way it turned out. I guess I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, the way it turned out, it definitely ended up doing it the right way, that's for sure. And anyway, before I sort of show it to you, because everything is under here and just on the side here, again, camping inside, you want to spend a lot of bloody money. So we looked at quite a few, and we've used KickAss gear in the past, as you guys would know if you've been following us, and had nothing bad to say about them so far. Nothing bad about their brands. We've had no problems with any of this sort of gear at all, and it's been fantastic, and it doesn't cost a fortune. So why wouldn't I keep going with it? So the guts of the system I settled on was the 170 amp hour kit, if you like. So I'll sort of show some bits and pieces on the screen here now. So we went with the 170 amp hour slimline battery. Again, remembering air fryer was probably the biggest need for using an inverter with. Most people would say if you're going to use an air fryer, and we're probably anywhere from sort of 1200 to a 1400 watt appliance, a lot of feedback was you're probably going to need 200 amp hour batteries or 220 amp hour batteries. So 200 amp hours or something like that would be the better setup, and a lot of you said, no, I bloody use a 120 amp hour battery, and have done for years, and it's been fantastic. So I went somewhere in the middle, and I'll tell you sort of how that turned out as well. So I went with 170 amp hour, went with the slimline. So this one comes with the tray that you can see there, and it also comes with a DCDC charger tray that goes on the side there. So the DC, it's a 25 amp hour DCDC charger which goes on the side and fits there. So my original idea was I was either going to go the side here, probably not that side, but I was thinking this side or the back of the seats. Again, I wanted to keep it out of the way, and but when I got to the auto electrician and sort of went through some ideas, he's like, all right, leave it with me and see how we go. And that is, you know, that's exactly what we didn't do. You can see with this kit here, it's got all the fuses and all the cables and everything else you need. So in regards to the battery and charging, bang, that was sorted out. I paid about $11.99 I think it was at the time, so I think it's $9.99 as of right now. So I bought this in January of last year, and I think I got it installed in about April of last year. So I guess over a year and a bit, it sort of dropped down a bit. Now the other things I've got in here is the 2000 watt inverter, which is in here. You've seen me do a video on that in the past for the camper trailer, so if you haven't seen what that's about, I'll chuck a video in the description. It's probably easiest, and you can see what's going on there. So again, 2000 watt inverter, because I wanted to run some of those higher powered electronics, mainly being the air fryer, but an option for maybe a coffee machine or something later. We've also got the, on the inverter as well, the other thing I liked about it, you know, having used it and sort of seen how it works, was this one's actually got the panel, a separate sort of touch panel. So this one here, and I'll show you, I've actually got it fixed to the side, so I can access everything all from here, basically, in regards to the inverter. Cable comes out there, buttons on the side here, I turn it off and on and plug it in, and off I go, basically. The last part was, I think this sort of came maybe a few months later, or 6 months later, something like that. I was going to need to plug in all the rest of the bits and pieces, you know, hence the GoPros and the tablets and the phones and all that sort of stuff. So I got the mini power box. So that's got the 2 Anderson sockets. It's got the, what's it got? 3 6 sockets. I had to check that. It's got a few USB-A charging ports. It's got a USB-C there as well for fast charging. It's got a light on it, 3 different types of settings. I'll show you in a sec, but I haven't really used that for what, you know, sort of how I got it. But if that's something you think about, check that out. When I installed that, I did a video on that. I sort of went through the product a bit. So again, I'll chuck that in the description so you can see a bit more about that if you like it and you want to see a bit more. And that's everything. Only other thing we got was there was a 200 amp circuit breaker, which is there for the inverter. You know, obviously you don't want to have any problems with the inverter, and it blows up the battery. And or as my Sparky put it, it's going to blow your bloody car up. So do you want to do that? I think that costs about $50, and other than that, everything else is all KickAss stuff. Anyway, there's all the gear. I told you about it. You've seen the pictures. I'm going to flip my lid here now, and I'll open this up, and I'll set the cameras up here, and I'll show you what I've got, and then I'll tell you how it's worked and how it's performed as well. Rightio, so here I am. Now I've got another camera set up here, which is obviously showing down here, but I've grabbed some other bits of footage and I'll overlay that as best I can to give you an idea what's going on. So yeah, the idea was back of the seats to the side, and clearly in hindsight that was the wrong idea and the wrong thinking, but it worked out. Being in here was the perfect idea, because as you can see there, I can just put the cover over that and you never know it's there. And with the extension lead there, that normally sticks out over the top there, which removes any need I need to get in here. So with the extension cable coming out, the mini power box here with all the connections to plug in everything, and the inverter panel here, I can just set it, forget it, and it's all great, other than, you know, the circuit breaker, or, you know, if I have a problem. But it all worked out really well. Now, installation wise, one thing the guy had to do, and I'll try and, it was hard to capture on the camera, the inverter, he actually had to cut out the base of, you know, whatever you call it here. So as it, you know, unless you cut it out, the inverter will go down so far, but it won't go down far enough so you can actually close the top over. So basically he cut around where the inverter is. That allow the inverter to go down, you know, maybe that much, which is enough, and then, you know, sort of just goes in there nicely. So that's probably the only bit that was sort of cut out or modified as such. So you can see here, slimline battery goes in there nicely. The tray is obviously set up in there, and that's all bolted in there, well in there, sorry. And you can see the DC charger on the side there as well, with the actual charger in there, and that's all locked away there pretty nicely. Now with this one here, the terminals come off there, and that's all bolted down and nicely secured. The inverter is secured with these bolts here, one there, two there, and obviously another side there, so that's all secured to the back bit here. The circuit breaker, which is a 200 amp hour, is just fixed to, you know, the base of the car really, and that's all the wiring as such. And what you end up with is the Anderson plug here, which comes out. This Anderson plug here, which comes out of there, plugs into the battery, and now I can use the mini power box, you know, for whether it's extra Anderson plugs or extra 6 sockets or for charging or whatever. And I'll show you in a sec how that is all set up there. And as you can see there, it all sort of comes up through the side of the vehicle there without any problems. This one here is set for solar charging, so I can plug in my solar blanket to that one there. Now performance wise for charging, it charges off the car really quickly, it charges off the panel really quickly. Being a 25 amp hour with the 170 amp hour battery, the 25 amp one is fine, and it performs really well, so I'll definitely recommend it. Never had a problem with any of this gear at all. You know, what has it been, a year and a bit that I've had these on here, so there's no problems I have. Now with the inverter, again, this is 2000 watts, so it actually has the panel on the front here. I can use to turn it on, turn it off. I'll show you the panel on the side bit here in a moment. Performance wise, using it with the inverter, which is the air fryer, I think it's about 1440 watts. But for example, I can use the air fryer, you know, you don't use it for long periods of time, use it for probably 10 to 15 minutes at a time, or maybe you might give it a 10 and then a 10, and it doesn't, I never had it any lower than sort of 12.2 or 12.3 volts. Now the mini power box has the voltage meter that I need. The air fryer use that I mentioned, along with charging drones, so I've charged the drones overnight, or if I'm driving, but if I'm camped up overnight, I just plug them on there and leave them to it. GoPros, I've got the 2 GoPros, so they'll overnight, again, charging all the batteries, tablets and those types of things. It all charges off there. If we're parked up at a caravan park or something like that where I'm using power for the camper trailer, then we'll use the phones and then probably the tablets in the camper. But a lot of the time it's just easy to use everything on the car here, because the 170 amp hour battery is definitely overs for, you know, usage for those types of things, but it gives us the extra bit of power we need to run those higher power appliances. So performance wise, for the 170 amp hour, it covers all the bases quite comfortably, clearly. Now why didn't I go for lithium versus AGM? There's plenty of videos out there for you to watch to go through the difference. Clearly the lithium has the, you know, the bigger power bank, so to speak, whereas the AGM, you can obviously only use half of the battery's power. But the lithium's just too bloody expensive for me, okay? Like, it's the dream, and it would have been awesome, but I just couldn't afford it. You know, I wanted, you know, probably 170 to 200 amp hours to be able to use the air fryer. You know, lithium for that, you know, I'm looking at $2,000, you know, something like that, just for a bloody battery, you know, and more and some. So that's why I went for AGM. And I will point out though, this thing's bloody heavy. I think it was 49 kilos or 49 point something, but just shy of 50 kilos, so it is really bloody heavy. So that's definitely something to think about if you know, a lot of Pajero owners, once you've got the bull bar and a bash plate and those types of things and a roof rack, suddenly you're starting to push the weight capabilities of the Pajero, which is 3 ton obviously, pretty quickly. So for me, I don't have the bull bar. I guess the trade-off is I've got the bloody big battery back here. Again, pros and cons, you know, work out what best suits you, but that's why I went with that. But that's all the setup down here, and obviously all the wiring is all tied up there pretty neatly. The Sparky who did all this, he did a really good job, and he sort of made it all really neat. And this kit comes with an absolute shitload of cable, as you can see there, that's sort of all wrapped up. Only thing I haven't mentioned, and I'll be keen to get to know your thoughts, is this battery setup is completely separate to the front. I haven't connected them up. I know there's pros and cons for both. You know, I guess the most obvious one is if the car battery's flat, you know, we can use this one to get some more juice for it. But I don't know, I just wanted to keep it separate. And you know, now that I'm sort of starting to add some things, I've got some different sort of camping lights that we're going to use here as well. But I can plug it all off here and you know, sort of just help me manage it. But that's what I did. But I'd like to know your feedback for those of you that have done it. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. Maybe just I don't know enough about it, I'm not too sure, but that's just what I went with. But anyway, that's all this stuff here. I'll now show you the inverter monitor that I got on side here, and then I'll show you the mini power box as well. Okay, so using the monitor here for the inverter, it's fairly simple. All you do is there you go, the beat obviously just telling you that the inverter's turned on. There you go, you can see 13.2, 13.3 amount of volts that are being used there. And you know, you can see how simple it is there. And obviously it's got some connections here to, you know, sort of tinker with some things, but I've never bloody used them myself. And it's actually got a fault light here, but to turn him off, hold the button down, bang, it's all turned off, and that's done. This one here installing was fairly easy. You can see you got the 4 screws there. The cable, I'll just show you, which comes through here and up through the side here. It just comes off through the back there, so it's nice and easy. So those 4 screws with this big plate here, and which is a bit bloody dusty, fixes on there, and it's got all the componentry in the back there. But that's all super light as well, and that's how easy that works. Now the mini power box here, I'll just sort of go through it in quick detail here. Installing this one again was super simple because it only connects up via the Anderson. All the fuses and all that sort of stuff, and it's all fixed into the box here as well. So each socket on its own has got its own protection on there, which is nice. Press the button there, you've got the gauge there which turns on, and it's got the voltage meter and, you know, the red light there to sort of say it's charging. Other button here is the light, which is on the top here, which is 3 lights, that, you know, 3 variations there, but I don't use that for what I've got. 1, 2, 3 SIG sockets, 2 Anderson sockets here, which are inputs or outputs, and under here we've got the 4 USB-A 2.1 amp ports, and then we've got the USB-C C for fast charging there, and that one there is just another USB-C-A, which is, I think it's a 3.0 USB, which is just a bit faster charging really. And cabling, again, that just comes up through the back there with 1 screw on the side here, 1 screw on the other side, and that fits on there super easy. So that's just the top shot there, and you can see the voltage meter there. So there you go, so there's a shot, so you can see how easy it is, and it's out the way. I know there's a lot of better brands and a lot of other options out there, but this is what I use. Yeah, it's a shame I couldn't show you how we installed that one and wired it up. I didn't have anything to do with that. The Sparky done that, and it's not something I really wanted to mess around with. And to be honest, I couldn't have achieved that. No way I wouldn't have done that. I was going to play around with something completely different, and I was thinking about getting some drawers or boxes and, you know, something sort of fitted on the side there. But again, that's just all money. It's all been fantastic, and it's all worked really well, and I haven't had any problems. It's done everything I've needed to do, keeping in mind all those things I said at the start of the video. Mini power box has been great. It's easy to plug things off there and charging everything up as I go, and it's been fantastic. So this KickAss setup for me has been great, and I would definitely recommend it. So I'll chuck the links to the kit, to the inverter, and to the power box in the description below, so you can have a look for yourselves. I think there is another variant with the pack there as well, and there's also bigger and smaller inverters for you to check out and, you know, see what you think and see if you're going to like it. But there you go, that's my Pajero setup. Love it, recommend it, very happy with it. If you have any questions at all, let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, what you got, what you don't have, what you've been thinking about getting, any considerations you have, or if you have any questions about what I've got here. Hope that was helpful for you, and I reckon I'll wrap it up here. Thanks for joining us. If you're still watching now and you've sat through all this and you found it interesting, thank you, and I hope you got something out of it. I'm Diesel for Getting Around Oz, Camper Trailer Traveling. We'll see you in the next one, where I'm hopefully out doing some camping, but that all depends on the weather, doesn't it? Hooroo. I feel like I'm at a point where I can actually give you... Anyway, let's bloody rip in here, and I'll flip the lid here, and I'll go through it all. Just remember, I'm not a qualified electric Sparky.